Okay, so we're still sticking with our what to do with a yearling series, and they're out in the playground here at the horse ranch, and they've got all kinds of different obstacles and stuff. And there's certain obstacles that you can ask with these young guys. It's not going to hurt them at all. They're still growing, they're still developing, so you don't ask anything too tough of them. But he sure enough can walk through here. So what I find with what I would call town horses, horses that are raised in a pasture that's all groomed and flat, and there's no trees, there's no hills, there's no nothing. The less of that stuff there is, the less athletic the horse gets, and they kind of don't know where their feet are at. And so if you are in a situation where your horse can't be running through the bush, all this bush behind me, and we got hills and trees and brush and stuff all over here. But even still, a horse left to his own devices in that country, he'll learn quite a bit on his own, but he could be so much better. So one thing I do know for sure about horses, they can cruise through this and they could canter through this, they can trot through this and never miss a beat. So we know in the jumping world and whatnot, they know there's this many distance between strides at a walk and a trot and a canter, and they lay out their patterns and stuff, so that it's at the length of the horse, so we don't disturb the pattern and whatnot. So I'm kind of doing the opposite. I'm just throwing stuff, I just wing it out there, and it is where it is. And what I want is him to figure out where his feet are at, where his front feet and where his back feet are at. So they can cruise through this stuff just not a problem at all, but not if they don't know how. You have to teach them. And so if they're not running and you're not riding and traveling through that kind of stuff, the horse is stumbly and frantic and stepping on things you don't need to be stepping and stumbling and half falling down. But if you're doing, if you're always out in the bush going through bush trails and you're trotting around and stuff like that, man, they get handy with their feet. They can short stride, long stride, half stride, and they know where their front foot's going, their back foot's going. So anyways, you can do some of that at home real easy. If you got some fence posts, if you got some old poplar trees, we just went and cut some poplar trees out of the bush and throw them down here. And I can move these however I want, whenever I want. And a boy. So I want him to look when he's going through that. Don't look at me. He did pretty good there. He wandered through there. He's kind of watching where he's going. He's taking all different strides. You clipped a couple, but that's all right. We'll get better at it. But I can't do this once or twice. Go, yeah, he made it through. The idea is that I want him to get real handy with his feet, no matter where these things are at. He looks at where he's going. He watches his feet. That's not bad, Sketch. You made it through, but you did clunk things. You don't need to even clunk them. And then, of course, we got to go a little faster. Can he go faster and stride through there? That a boy, Sketch. So I'm using, oh, good boy. You see him hold and pause in the air? He's holding, pausing, he's thinking. I can see him thinking his way through there. It's exactly what I want, is build a thinking horse. So if I've got my 7 patterns working decent, then I can start using my 7 patterns to do stuff like this. I want my 7 patterns working fairly decently before I start putting obstacles in front of them. Because it's not... And I always ask myself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, what's the reason? If I'm getting my horse to do something, is there a real reason for it? Whoa, Sketch, that's so good. And what's so good about it, I can see, and I'm sure you can see in the camera, how he's lifting high and he's stepping and he's pausing and he's stretching and he's shortening his stride so he can get through there without tripping and stumbling and clicking and clacking his feet on these logs. Atta boy. You can do stuff like this and really seriously develop a horse. I'm telling you, there's so many horses that can't do something as simple as that. It's crazy. First of all, the human can't stand over here and just send your horse through the trot. Second of all, the horse is stipping and troubling and stumbling all around. And so there, I mean, you can always, already, without even taking this guy on a trail ride, I can start setting up things like this and get him ready for going down the trail. So the day that he's old enough that we can put a saddle on him and start riding him, I could take him out on the trail right away and he'd be, halfway there. He'd go out on the trail the very first time, be a superstar. Anyways, have some fun with that.